Hello and welcome to Design Chat, the best live design discussion on the internet. I'm your host, Ryan McGovern. On Twitter, I'm at Goob and at Design Chat. Every week we get together, we bring together some of the coolest people from the design community so you guys can talk to them one-on-one, mano-a-mano. You can get on camera even and ask questions. It's like a little design conference every week. And this week we're talking to Dawn Hancock of Firebelly Design and Shannon Downey from Pivotal Chicago. Yay, thanks for coming out, guys.
Love it.
Yeah, it's awesome. We're excited for sure to be here.
Nice.
Definitely been looking forward to this for. Definitely been looking forward to this for a while. Met Dawn almost it was a year ago almost. The SEEK conference at NIU was the first time I saw you talk there last year, and and we've been kind of chatting ever since. And so glad to finally get you on to talk about all these. Look at the list. Look at the list of all the things we got to talk about tonight. It's crazy. It's insane. So we will get to all of that, but it is a couple days after Halloween, so I'm going to be digging into the candy here tonight. So if you hear some crinkling, you know what that is. And I'm also definitely on a sugar high now because I've been eating it pretty much for breakfast, lunch, and dinner for the last 3 days. So I apologize if I'm talking quickly or something like that.
That's all right. So, we're both drinking coffee, so we're on that same high that you are. Don't worry.
Nice, nice. Okay, so the first thing we usually do for the audience members, for people who might not be familiar with your names already, do kind of like a little intro, who you are, what you do, and why you do it.
Me first? Okay. So,
yeah, go ahead.
Who am I? I'm Dawn Hancock. If that wasn't obvious, who here? I'm Dawn. This is Shannon. Run a studio called Firebelly Design. We are 8 people at the moment. We do all sorts of things, all with a mission of doing something good in the world. For-profits, non-for-profits, startups, big businesses, as long as they're doing something we think is doing something going in a positive direction, we want to work with them. We also run a nonprofit, which is the Firebelly Foundation. I don't know how much that crazy notebook you had there that was part of that, but that's got all kinds of fun things that we do. A program called Camp Firebelly, which is something we do over the summer, and another organization that's completely non-design in terms of what the mission of it is, but we certainly use design through it. But it's called Reason to Give, and it's to help our local community here in Humboldt Park, which is a neighborhood in Chicago. So that's Firebelly. We've been around for 12 years almost, which is just obscene to even think about for me. I don't even know how that's possible. It is.
Nice.
Your turn.
Cool, Shannon.
So I'm Shannon Downey. I own a company called Pivotal Production. We've been around for about 4 years. We have similar values as Firebelly, so we end up doing a lot of work together, but we are a non-traditional marketing company. So we do a lot of experience-based marketing events and guerrilla marketing, a lot of social media strategy, anything that's not the traditional marketing avenues. We're certified B Corporation because everything that we do is as environmentally and socially responsible as we can get it. So we've sort of been leading the way for the event industry in sort of this going green. And now we're excited to be part of Grant for Good.
Awesome.
Right.
One of the things I didn't mention is sort of the format and how things are going to go tonight. We're going to do a little Q&A between us, and then we're going to accept questions from the audience, and they can submit either text questions or video. They can actually hop on video, and hopefully audience members, you will do that. I'm telling you, are doing that. You will do video tonight. That's my Jedi trick. You will do video. And then the third thing that we've had recently is we turn the tables because we want to make this as interactive as possible. At the end, you guys are going to have to ask a question of the audience. So think about that. And I probably should have warned you ahead of time. Now I'm putting you on the spot. You got to think of a question. So we will get to that.
Stuff like that. That's good.
Nice.
Awesome. So the first thing I want to tap into is, and it applies to both of you guys, in a time where we have all of this financial craziness and meltdowns and businesses are struggling and you hear all these horrible things in the news, right? Everybody's having a hard time. Your businesses are not only surviving and hopefully thriving, but you both are finding ways to sort of give back, whether that's through your industry or your local groups or outside of that. Where does that drive come from? Where does that motivation come from for you guys personally?
That's a big question. That's a really big one.
I'm starting with the heavy hitters tonight.
For me, I mean, it even goes back to when I was a kid, really, you know, just wanting to, I mean, you saw me speak, so you sort of know my personal history. I don't want to get into the details of everything right now because we only have an hour and I don't want to take up everything. But the idea of like going through some struggles in my childhood that really affected me in a big way, wanting to take that and instead of do something in a negative way, use that sort of energy and stuff going on in my life for something positive. And so after college and, you know, not finding jobs that I was really ever super excited about, which is why when I said it's crazy to me to think that I've been doing this for 12 years, because I only started, you know, three years out of school, I started a business. So it was always a sort of idea of wanting to just make a difference. And for me, it stems definitely from just personal stuff in my life that is, you know, something that I've dealt with things that weren't so easy, and so I know that if I can get through some of that stuff, so I can help other people who are certainly struggling in either much more challenging ways than I ever did, or you know, find ways to get them out of the spots that they're in, and that can be through design or through other avenues like Reason to Give or, you know, volunteering and different other opportunities. What about you, Ms. Downey?
I think for me, it's definitely just sort of like my upbringing. I was raised in a union family. We were always on a picket line fighting for workers' rights and for, you know, we were always in the out of doors, you know, learning leave no trace and, you know, all of these components. And it's just something that became intrinsic in me. And then when I decided to go off on my own, it was really in response to the fact that I felt like the industry was not doing what they should be doing in terms of sustainability, both in thinking about the environment and thinking about people. So that was the mission of my company when I went off and started it. And since then, you know, you really, once you start doing that, you really realize the more you give, the more you get. And it has, it's proved just the right way to do business.
So given all that, I mean, it sounds like you guys kind of started, you know, thinking in that mode before the economic crash and all that. So now that we're existing in that time, has it changed at all how you're actually running your businesses, how you think about it? Has that changed for you guys at all?
I mean, for me, it has, only because, you know, my company is much younger than Dawn's, and you know, the sort of growing struggles of how much of your time do you give away, how much pro bono work do you do, how do you balance out, you know, for profit and then the giveaway stuff, and how do you make the giveaway stuff as effective as you want it to be. And so that led to the conversation that Dawn and I had where, you know, she talked about the grant and, you know, I sort of was like, great, I'm going to copy you. Will you like let me, and are you going to like help me through this so that I don't have to reinvent the wheel? And that's sort of where the Grant for Good was born, was just this idea of like, well, why don't we just join forces so that you don't have to go through all the, you know, learning curve that I went through. And I thought that sounded great. So, but yeah, just like reevaluating how you give your time and where you give your time has definitely been something that I don't know if it's necessarily related to the economy for me, but it's definitely in the like, you know, youngness of the company and figuring those things out.
Yeah, and for me, I think the economy has only really strengthened what we do, because it's really, and I don't know, I mean, I feel like more people right now are wanting to like give back and do something, regardless of, you know, where their money's coming from or what their job status is or anything like that. I feel like people are suddenly, and I don't know, maybe it was Obama's, you know, change and hope and all that good stuff, but it's definitely been something everywhere. I mean, I see it with young designers. I see it with older designers. I mean, people who are in their 50s who feel like their career is not going anywhere and they want to do something to get back. I see it everywhere. And so for me, I feel like it's really the big, the economy has actually really strengthened what we do, and really proven that. I mean, it's interesting because I actually had a conversation last night with someone who said, I don't know how you do it. I don't understand it. You must live on cat food. Like, I don't get it. And it almost offended me, because I thought, well, you know, maybe it's just that I don't need all of the things everybody else needs. So I don't have to have, I don't know, I just don't have to live in such an extravagant life or something. But even that, like, I don't know, I feel comfortable. I live a fine life, and so do the people that work for me. So I don't know. I'm a believer in karma. What you put out there is what you get back. I'm just thankful.
That strategy too, when like you apply that to your business, when you know that giving means you're going to return, it's sort of like a counterintuitive way of thinking, right? It's sort of, you know, very opposite than some of the business-minded people that you might bump into in professional arenas, where they're like bottom line, bottom line, bottom line. Anything that ruins my bottom line, I'm not going to do. Are there any other strategies that you guys employ that might be, you know, that sort of zag strategy, you know, that other people might find counterintuitive?
Well, I mean, the grant that Shannon's been talking about, for those who aren't familiar with that, for the last 7 years, have been giving a grant where we work with one nonprofit for the whole year for free, versus helping, 10 nonprofits do 10 different projects throughout the year. And I think that inherently changes the game for people that, not just obviously coming to ask you for free work. And I don't know, as a designer, it's really hard to say no, especially when it's a good cause, you know. And so for so long, like in the beginning of my business, I'd say 30 to 50% of our work was for free, which is completely not sustainable. That's ridiculous. And I don't even know how we did that for 3 years, to be honest with you, but somehow we pulled that off. And that was the like .com world where everything was, you know, crazy and everybody wanted everything. So it was a different world at that time, but still, you know, it's changed the game for nonprofits. It's changed the game for us, and it really has made a big difference. And I think that's one of those examples of a way to give back in a very meaningful and in a way that really educates the nonprofit, in a way that really helps give them a voice in a huge capacity that they're not able to get if they're, most of these groups that we work with are smaller. So some of them are one person staff, some of them are 3, some of them are no more than 10 usually. And that's a small organization for the most part. And generally speaking, they don't have the money to have a designer. They've never worked with professionals. They don't understand any of that stuff. And so it's a really great opportunity to kind of give them that edge that organizations of their size don't usually have. So
what I find the most impactful about how you're setting up this Grant for Good program is that you hear stories about people who donate their time, and it's usually a small project here or there for for a non-for-profit sort of organization. But what struck me and what resonated the most was the way that you're approaching it, where it's not just one pamphlet. You're not just producing one really good clean message pamphlet that this group can use. You are working with them in tangent for a whole year. And so there are learning processes. There are things that for both of your organizations are going to change over that year. And now what's completely changed is it's not just a group, like you were saying. There are multiple groups donating their time to one non-for-profit organization. What I'm seeing here, what's resonating is impact and focusing the idea so it can make the greatest impact long-term for this group. And it just, that idea just bounces around my head, and I get so excited about it because it changes the game compared to what other people are doing.
Sure, yeah.
I think too that what we hope is that the not-for-profit that we work with and moving forward, other not-for-profits will start to realize the value and importance of design and of having a marketing plan and a marketing strategy and budgeting towards something like that for the future, not just, that's sort of the first thing that gets cut, from budgets, if it ever makes, a budget. And so I think that inspiring nonprofits to understand the value of that, I think is going to be key as well.
Yeah, and we've definitely in the years, I mean, that is a huge part of it, is education, and not just like, here's a brochure, here's your design, here's your new website, but why is this important? And what I think has been really key in that is they get all these materials, and in 1 year maybe they don't completely get it, but within a year or so after that, suddenly the donation amounts change that people are willing to give them. Funders take them seriously in a very different way. And it's almost hard to believe, because a lot of nonprofits think they have to look like they're grassroots, for somebody. They're going to think, oh, well, they're putting their money into their materials and not into the services that they're doing instead. And it could be more further from the truth. I mean, reality is the more polished they look, the more likely someone's actually going to take them seriously and write a check. And almost every organization that we've worked with after the fact has said, some of them have increased within the same year, have increased their donations like 400%. I mean, it's been insane. And I think it's really, their message is finally clear. They're able to talk about themselves in a way that they weren't able to before, because they are so, they're so involved in what they're doing. They don't necessarily know how to have that quick elevator speech about, especially some of these organizations that are just really, really complicated what they do. So that, and then this next year, I mean, we're going even beyond just like traditional design and marketing. We're bringing in somebody who's an expert in on the areas of like the board and strategy around the organization in general. So it's like way bigger than just going to affect their business card that they hand out. So it's that, I'm really excited about that part, because the woman involved in that is somebody who I've worked with over the years, and she's just, I mean, she's a powerhouse. She's amazing. So I hope she's listening.
Dawn, talk a little bit more about the specifics of the experiences that you've already had in doing this type of endeavor. What types of non-for-profits, if you can name them, I'm sure you can, have you worked with? And I mean, you already mentioned one stat, you've changed their income 400%. What are how else do these, specifically, these organizations change from this experience?
Well, I think one of the first things that we really try to get them to see is they need to understand like what we're actually doing for them. So there's a big process right in the first couple months of just learning who they are, understanding their audience, understanding that, and asking them so many questions that they probably never have ever thought about. Even organizations that have been around for 15 or 20 years don't necessarily think about who's their competition. Most nonprofits don't think they have competition because they're just doing their thing. But that couldn't, again, like that's not at all, especially when they're going after, money to continue to stay doing what they do. I mean, everybody's competition in some way or another, right? So understanding these things, really understanding who their audience is, they're really learning a lot about that, which is, I think, very invaluable for a non-for-profit to think that way, because it's just not inherently in the work that they do. Beyond like that education, also by the end of it have, like I said, they have this very succinct message. They finally, like, one of the really neat things that I've seen over the years, this happened with a group called Faith in Place when we worked with them. It happened with another group, not CAP, it was the group after them, Illinois Safe School Alliance. One of the things that was really interesting at the end of those grants, they felt proud about handing out their card, but they like literally their pride in their group and what they do completely changed. It was like it was like pushing the reset button, and or like they went out and bought a whole wardrobe of new clothes, and suddenly they felt so much better about themselves. I mean, it's really interesting, and their interpersonal relationships changed too, which is really neat to see, because suddenly they're all valuing what they do in a very different way, because suddenly they have more language to talk about it. It's really neat. And then of course, afterwards, sometimes it's not obvious for a year or two, but you start to see the money come in that they didn't see it before too. So it's been great. I mean, I've done different speaking engagements with some of the grantees who've gotten in the past, and I just sort of let them talk, because it's really neat to just hear them talk about their experience and all the great things that have come from it. So it's fun, and I can't even imagine what we're going to do next year, because I think with all the things we're offering this group, it's just, I don't know, it's kind of mind-blowing to me that I was able to get all these people to agree to do this. Because I know it's a crazy idea.
We're going to get to, right, I want to get into the details of how you guys are getting the word out and how that all goes down in a second. Shannon, first for you, your group, Pivotal Chicago, started as an experiential sort of event group, and you mentioned a second ago that you're moving and talking a lot about social media right now. Which can have a huge impact on getting the word out for these non-for-profits. Tell a little bit about that structure and how you approach the social media side for these groups.
I think what it has been is just helping them develop a strategy and not be so overwhelmed by it all. I think that there's like all of this pressure to, oh, well, we need a Facebook page, so we just set up a Facebook page. And somebody told us we should be on Twitter, so we set up a Twitter handle, but we don't know how to use Twitter. And so it's a lot of just, one, understanding who they want to reach and what the messaging that they want to reach them with is, and how they want to leverage social media for whatever end goals that they have. And then once we sort of sort through what their goals are and why they're doing social media, and if it's maybe just because they feel they have to, and it's not something they actually want to do, then it's a little bit of like a cheerleading pep rally, like, you can do this, and I'm going to teach you how. Yeah. And so then it leads into a sort of, I take this time to develop a strategy for them based on what their goals are, how much time they have, what sort of resources they have to implement, and what I think the best platforms are for them to use. And then educating them on how to use those things, setting up a personality for their organization within social media, and training their whole staff on, okay, this is how everybody's going to use it. This is how we communicate as a team, and here are the ways that social media will, here are the metrics, and then every 6 months we're evaluating whether we're meeting the metrics, and then shifting the plan and changing the plan based on how we're doing.
So as you guys are getting the word out, how is it all going to go down? How are these non-for-profit groups hearing about your venture? When is it decided, and how is it awarded?
Me? All right. So the application process is open right now. They have until December 3rd, which is the first Friday in December, to apply. They can email or they can postal mail their applications in. Then from that point, the group of us, as well as the former grantee, our former grantee from last year, and then potentially, depending on how many applications we actually get, I don't know what to expect. Usually we only get 35 to 50 or so, but I have a feeling with the reach that we've already just gotten through social media and other blogs and things posting about this, it's going to be much greater than that, which is incredibly exciting, but I know it's going to be a little bit overwhelming too. So we probably will have another 4 or 5 folks from outside, as well as the Firebelly staff and anybody else's staff who is part of the program, as part of that, to just sort of go through them, talk about the pros and cons of each, and then narrow it down to a small group that then will get interviewed personally, because if we're working with them for a year, we want to know who they are, we want to meet them, we want to make sure that they're fun, and that it's going to be a great year of working together. And those clients who you're just dread to go see every time you have to deal with them. We don't want that kind of relationship at all. So we want to make sure that it's going to be awesome and we get to meet them up front. And then from that point, it starts in January after we select who that organization is, and then we work with them all next year. So.
I just want to remind the audience really quick. Oh, go ahead.
No, it's okay. I was just going to say, and we'll work with the organization to sort of decide what their priorities are and what they need the most help with, and then structure what we're offering them based on the needs that we see and based on what they feel they need the most help with.
Right.
I just want to remind the audience really quick that, you know, one of the benefits from participating in this video chat is you guys can ask questions. There's a little icon in the lower right hand corner of the light bulb. Click on that and you can submit either a question in text by typing it in, or if you've got a webcam, you can get on camera and talk sort of face to face and get your question that way. Definitely take advantage of that, guys. Ask questions. We're going to get to your questions in just a minute. But first I want to address all of the noises that we hear in the background, the party that you guys have going on there. Dawn, you want to sort of serve that up? What's happening?
Sure, yeah. So since a lot of you are not from Chicago, I'm actually on the AIGA Chicago Board of Directors. I am the community. Are you leaving me?
I'm going to close the door.
Okay, we're going to close the door here for a minute. I'm the community outreach chair for Chicago chapter. And when I decided to join the board, I decided that I wanted to create a program that I thought was going to be beneficial so that designers of all career rankings, ages, whatever you want to call it, had a place that they could come and basically have therapy, I guess is a good way to put it. So I created the AIGA Chicago Mentor Program. And right now, there's actually a group in our studio here meeting. There's, I think it's 8 or 9 folks who are here, and this is a program that runs year-round. Right now, I think there's about 80 people who are part of the program. There are 10 groups. I think it's 10 groups. 10 groups of 8, something along those lines. Anyway, of 8 people that get together every other Wednesday for 6 weeks or 6 weeks, 3 months, I don't know, six sessions, 3 months. Mm-hmm. And they just get together and they talk about what's going on in their career, their jobs, clients, you know, pros and cons of freelancing, of, you know, working in-house, doing interactive work versus print work. It's also a variety of types of people. So there's photographers, illustrators. There are basically like anybody you can think of, from student, you know, to somebody who's probably looking to sell a company, of all sorts are part of the program. And I think there's actually in the entire program, right now there's only 80 people running in this group, but there's over 250 people who are signed up at various stages in the program. So it's a super exciting thing, and I'm like, this is our second session of it running. We had one that ran just finished over just before the summer, and that was students with professional mentors who were running those programs, and that was pretty exciting for the students. And then we'll have another one start up in the spring that will be potentially groups that will actually be collaborating on things together, work or otherwise. So it's crazy to me that so many people have signed up, but in a lot of ways it's not, because it's actually, the whole reason I wanted to do it was because it was something that really has made me, I think, in my life and in my business successful. And it's been all these amazing mentors I've had, from, you know, the people in the studio here to students to folks like Rick Valiceni, or, you know, the who's who of the designers who have just helped me understand how to run my business and you know, all the positives and negatives that come with it. So I can't thank those people enough. And so I figured, why not create something for people who, I mean, that's what most people want. They just want to talk about their figure it out. And so it seemed like a good way to do it.
Speaking of talking about, can you grab a couple of them and we can hear their
hang on.
thoughts?
I'll be right back.
Yeah. Awesome.
You chat for that.
And actually, James, come around the side. And actually, we have also another person who is involved in this program, James Gray. Say hi.
Oh,
Hi.
nice.
James
Hey.
is a young creative who joined us not too long ago, has been editing video for us and doing an amazing job and basically keeping the show going. So thank you for that. And also part of the mentor program. So my question to you is, how has it affected, I mean, what did you expect going into it, and what are you getting out of it?
I don't know what I really expected
That's
going
exciting.
into the program, but so far it's just nice to see kind of a lot of people in the same situation, a lot of people that can relate to things that you talk about outside of work.
Mm-hmm.
So it's nice.
We have
Awesome.
we have someone joining us, Mr. Nick Adam.
Cool.
He
Bring him
is,
in. Thanks for doing that, buddy.
He's a personal inspiration to me. I've met him. I don't know when I met you actually. I don't know when I met you.
Was it from Tech Force or before that? Actually, I met you.
Met you
I met you 8 years ago at an AIGA event.
Jesus, I don't want to hear that. Anyway, and I forgot him, so
No.
that tells you
I
something.
forgot you
I'm a
too.
jerk.
Then I remembered.
Anyway, we met earlier this year, and almost a year ago, and then had a class together over the summer, just coincidentally, and got to know each other there. And I'm just like a huge fan of him now, and so I kind of said, Nick, you got to join this mentor program because you're somebody who people need to know, and you're inspiring to me. So if you're inspiring to me, you're going to be inspiring to all these other people. So you're not even an AIGA member, are you?
Oh no.
That's okay. No, he's not an AIGA member, which is one of the really awesome things I've decided about the program. Regardless of what the damn board thinks, because I don't really care so much about what they think. I hope none of them are listening. But anyway, I've decided that you don't have to be a board member. You don't have to be on the an AIGA member, because I think the program is so valuable that once you go through it one time, you'll want to join and become an AIGA member, just because you'll gain so much from that it's worth the stupidly expensive price that the membership actually is. So that's why I let people in. They can go through an entire session of it for free, and it doesn't cost anything. That's the other thing. It's one of the very few AIGA programs or things that actually doesn't cost something. So, but let's
Nick, the audience is asking what your last name is.
Adam. It's just ADAM. There's no S. Everyone throws an S on there.
This is not me. It's you.
And so where can people find you online, on Twitter or a website or something like that?
I don't really have too much online. There's a lot on Flickr.
Yeah, what's your
So they have to come to the meetings to meet you.
Exactly. There you go.
Yeah, a lot of my work I try to put out into the public and on streets, and
Nick is a street artist.
Of sorts, but do design as well, and a lot of it's on Flickr.
So tell us about your experience with our program so far.
It's been pretty nice. This past fall I've had almost too many projects where I couldn't really take on much, and Don approached me, explained what the whole program's about, and it seemed I came to the open house, and it was really didn't demand too much. It was actually a benefit for me, because it is kind of like downtime. It's being able to sit down, relax, talk about process, engage each other, and I'm kind of solving my work problems through, being able to sit down with everyone, talk it out, seeing what their approach is, what their thoughts are. Sometimes it's a really good reminder to have that.
Totally. I mean, I can totally relate to this, and it's a very exciting idea in general. And actually, Don, I want to if there's a way that I can get involved, I would really like to do so. My Wednesday nights are kind of booked, but I'm sure we could figure something out.
I suppose that's true.
But definitely, I can relate, because a lot of my first handful of jobs right out of school, I worked in such fast-paced environments. There wasn't really a whole lot of opportunity for mentoring. So I was always trying to look up to my boss to get advice or start other conversations that was about industry but not really about work, or the project that had to be done tomorrow. Otherwise, the client's going to fire us. So I can relate to that, and that it would be a great opportunity for designers who are looking to reach out and need a little bit of that sort of connection. It's like it's like creative therapy.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's exactly what it is. And it was something actually Will just mentioned that the other day. He said, I feel like I need a design therapist. And I'm like, why aren't you in the damn program? Like, it's exactly perfect for you, man.
We
So,
could take on another member. We could take on another quiz member.
it's true.
Awesome. Cool. Nick, well, thank you so much for joining us tonight. It's really great to hear your perspective from that.
Definitely.
Would you like another fellow from the program, or?
Yeah, bring somebody else in.
You pick. Your call.
I'll bring someone.
Do duck, duck, goose.
You want to come back?
Here's somebody, I'll come
All right.
after.
So Shannon mentioned that somebody was, I didn't see who it was, but somebody who is part of DesignChat is actually in the program.
Yeah, he was on just as you were coming back. Jim Gray joined us not too long ago. He's a young creative designer just outside of Chicago, who is helping us by editing video for DesignChat, and has essentially kept the show going and kept shows being released for the last couple of months. So we owe him a great deal of gratitude to keep DesignChat going. But he was saying earlier how much he's enjoying it, how much he's getting out of it. So it's just really exciting to hear those things.
Yeah, I'm glad to know that. The first round of it, because it was students and professionals, it was a different scenario, because it was more about, how do you get the job? What's your resume supposed to say? What's your portfolio look at this work? This is a little bit more, into the meat and guts of like, what is it day to day like, and how do you deal with all the crap that comes at you? So it's kind of cool. And I'm hoping at some point, after I've sort of figured this whole thing out, that I can have all these things overlap so that there's, hundreds of things going on at the same time, and it's not just what do we got here, and it's not just one group at a time. Hey, we got to put you on some headphones here.
All right.
Introduce yourself, sir.
My name is Kyle Strace. I recently moved to Chicago.
There you go. All right.
What's going on, Kyle? Welcome to DesignChat. Glad to have you on tonight.
Glad to be on. How's it going?
Good. So give us your perspective on how you got involved in the program and what it's doing for you.
How I got involved in what, sorry?
What it's doing for you.
Oh, design.
In the mentorship program.
In the mentor program? I got involved in the mentor program. I found it through AIGA Chicago website. When I came, it was just like a good way to kind of network and get to know people, because I was new to the city. So I didn't know too much what was really going on with like the community or other designers. So it kind of gave me an outlet to see, who was doing what, and getting to know like my peers and everything. So.
Yeah, I find
That's
that,
awesome.
and I don't know how any of you who've been to AIGA events, at least Chicago chapter is huge, and you go to an event and there's 100 people there and you don't know anybody, and you feel like, what the hell am I doing here? And you stand in a corner and drink your drink, and you see your lecture, and then you go home, and that's it, right? And so the idea of this program too is to also really give you that like intimate connection with people, a way to meet people and just hang out without there being some sort of like weird event or something. It's just like a nice place to chat.
We're actually just talking about that too, with how from like the first event that we had until yesterday's event, the New Source Paper one, seeing people that we recognize through the mentor program, and just feeling a lot more comfortable and kind of having a group to go to, and then other people see, all these younger designers that they don't recognize talking and having a good time, and they feel more comfortable approaching you too. So it just kind of spreads awareness from that too.
Mm-hmm.
There is this weird duality, I think, in the design community that, especially as a young designer, if you're reading publications or blogs that come well-respected designers, they tend to be very highbrow. They tend to be very, thought-provoking and professional and clean. So then you sort of correlate that to an experience where you're going to these events, and just like you were saying, Don, it can create this weird environment where like not everybody knows each other, and you're cautious of opening a conversation for fear of looking stupid in a professional environment. And that's great to hear that this environment that you're creating is completely different, where it's just, it's going to be lax, it's going to be laid back, and everybody's open to just sort of get stuff out, off their chest and actually talk like, human beings instead of, trying to pretend that we're all these high profile, I'm really serious kind of designer kind of people, right?
That's Shannon's joke, is us designers don't know how to have any fun because we're all too damn serious. So, but she's here to change that. So. She's doing a good job so far.
So are we. That's why we drink on the show.
Right. Exactly.
Totally. Cool. So thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate that and keep it going. Is there anybody else in the group that we want to bring on?
I'm sure we could find
they're all scared, but maybe we could always bring that.
A little terrified.
I don't know how long the Q&A goes for or what, but...
Oh, yeah, we can start doing that. Guys in the chat room, start submitting your questions. If you're just saying them in the chat room, they're hard to see because they fly by really quick. Click on the light bulb icon, and then we'll bring up the questions. There's actually one sitting there right now. There's a text question. Let's see it. From Gary Holmes, who wants to know, how do you select the organizations? Oh, I think this was submitted back when we were talking about Grants for Good. How do you select the organizations, and what happens to them once the year commitment is over?
Yeah, maybe you should throw her out loud since this is part of our conversation from earlier.
Sorry.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So we talked about how we pick them. The question about what happens to them after the year is actually kind of a good, because I think one of the things we genuinely really try to do is set them up for success and in a completely sustainable manner, so that they're not left with suddenly like, well, how am I going to afford to print this brochure again when I need to print it? Or how am I going to, maintain my website, or whatever the scenario is? We really try to help make sure that they have the tools to be able to do this themselves, or at least that they understand what it costs to, in a certain level, for them to be able to, even things as simple as like, when they're asking for money, let's not call it marketing, or let's not call it advertising, let's call it advocacy, because that's the word that the funders think is actually a good thing, and they'll give money to that, and it's a little different than, asking for money for marketing. It's just, wordplay. So genuinely, we try to make sure that they can walk away and maintain this themselves. And in some cases, one of the really awesome things that we've had, a lot of our interns, after the fact, because they've been very familiarized with the organization, they know the work that they're doing, they've been probably a good part of the design throughout it, they will often pick up and help them, design various things, the following year. If the organization isn't prepared to hire Firebelly or another design firm, they have folks like that who then can step in and help them at a much, more reasonable cost too. So we really try to make sure.
We've got a question in the chat room from Colin White here. He says, question for Firebelly, what drink would you prefer to drink? Oh, I just lost it. See, that's why it scrolls by too fast. And what would be the shape? I lost it. So what's your favorite drink at Firebelly?
I'm a vodka girl. Vodka and soda, usually. Splash of tonic with a little lime. That's my drink. Belvedere, preferably.
And Shannon, a Pivotal?
Yeah, I'm whiskey, straight up.
She's much tougher than I am.
My kind of girl.
It's true. I'm very mad.
Shannon, I had another question for you, something we hadn't addressed yet. I think you mentioned it earlier tonight, that you were a producer for TEDx.
Correct.
What does that mean? I mean, are you actually putting on shows? Like, how does that work? That's so, like, just the idea is very exciting.
Yeah. TEDx, the TEDx program licensed out basically their brand. And so we are the licensee for TEDx Windy City. And so we produced 2 events last year. We partnered with the Museum of Science and Industry and had the first event in February. The last one was just a few weeks ago. It was October 6th at the Museum of Science. And we Yeah, we do everything from curating who's speaking to
How we met.
It's true. It's how we met. Dawn was a speaker. Curating who's speaking, literally absolutely everything. So we had an exceptional event on October 6th, had about 450 people there, sold out in 2 weeks, and had some incredible speakers. And actually the videos just went online like 10 minutes ago. So if anybody wants to watch them,
Really?
You can check them out on YouTube.
And they just search for TEDx Windy City then?
TEDx Windy City, yep. And then you can see Dawn's
Awesome.
talk on there. And all of the February speakers and then the October speakers just went up like minutes. I haven't even told the museum they're up yet. So go, DesignChat wins.
Yay, we get the original. That's awesome.
Right? Breaking news, breaking news.
Right.
Very cool. Audience, you're not asking any questions in the questions tab. Please do that. You can do it in the chat room, but we're gonna miss them. They go by too fast. So definitely, especially if you got a webcam, jump on and ask those questions. We've got about 12 minutes left tonight, so get on it for sure. Okay,
Patrick, I'm sorry you didn't get tickets.
That's my
Like
brother, by the way.
Patrick.
You completely ignored me.
Oh. Next time, just email me.
That's a good point. What's the best way that people can follow the things that you guys are doing online? On Twitter or through your websites?
Twitter, Facebook, website.
Website fail. I'll just be honest. I don't know what the hell we've been doing for the last year and a half, but we promise there's a new website coming, and with 2 years worth of work that nobody's seen, which is exciting as hell to be able to show it finally. But yes, Facebook. We actually, one of the things on our site, which actually is probably the only thing that gets updated regularly, it feels like, is our sketchbook, which is just not at all. And some of it's work, but most of it's just like fun stuff we do outside of work, or things that keep us inspired, or sketches, or whatever. It all gets posted to Flickr, but then comes through our sketchbook portion of our site.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty regularly updated. Will's constantly putting his ridiculous type drawings up there every day. So
That stuff is awesome, by the way.
I know.
It's
He's ridiculous.
He's sick. I don't get it, but I'm glad he's sick. That's all I know. Yeah.
And you're, of course, referring to firebellydesign.com. I just put that up in the chat room there, so you guys
Yes,
definitely should
sorry.
check that out. So there's no scheduled date for the new release then?
If I gave you one, it would probably be not the right one at this point. So we haven't even started designing it.
Well, see, if you give me one, then you got to stick to
I
it
know,
because this is
right?
being
I know,
published and it's
right?
out there in the real world.
I know. It's just that we have so many other websites, including the pivotal site that has to get designed and built before ours. So,
Oh, it's like she's trying to make me feel bad, but it doesn't work.
Awesome.
Right.
Okay, so we've got questions popping up. Cool. Let's take some of those right now. Of course, Pat has to put one in there. He wants to know, what's the most difficult task that you've taken on in the last year?
Nice. It's a good one.
You want to answer that first?
For me, it's been TEDx, just because it's the first time that I've been that I've taken on events where I didn't have a client, where I'm sort of the steering force, and it lives and dies by me and my ability to generate sponsorship dollars and find partners and curate a really great show and just everything. And so that's been an incredible challenge and a huge learning curve and an invaluable experience, and has created incredible partnerships and just people that I love working with and will continue to work with for years and years.
For me, it's actually not, I'm not even thinking of it in terms of like a project or a thing like that. I'm thinking of it more in terms of a real struggle with because of the economy and uncertainty and everything that's been going on, not knowing whether to hire or whether to take on freelancers or whether to, whatever. Like it's a challenge, and it's been something I've been struggling with for the last 6 months. And I see a fellow who's on here right now, Mr. Fredo, out of Jacksonville, Florida, who's been one of the freelancers for us, and come in at the last minute and save the day for us. But it's a real struggle to try to know when to hire somebody and when not to. And that's, as a business owner, it's probably the hardest thing, because the last thing you want to do is hire somebody and then the phone doesn't ring and then you have to let somebody go. And that's, of any experience in my entire life, having to let people go is the worst thing ever. Unless, of course, they deserve it.
I could only imagine. Yeah.
Yeah.
That experience is like, as a business owner, kind of thinking of, but I don't even know where to go with that. But it's got to be extremely difficult. Maggie Moore wants to know, Shannon, who are your typical clients/events?
I would say that we have 3 sort of categories of clients. It's really like the arts community, the like innovation sort of tech community, and then the green community, because of our approach to all of our events. We work with a lot of nonprofits and a lot of for-profits too. So I think we're probably like a 70-30 split between 70% being nonprofits, 30% being for-profits. So that's our typical client.
Cool. Thank you, Maggie, for the question, and thank you, Patrick, also. So another question here from James Gray, who was just on camera a second ago, who asks, because you're so involved with the organizational aspects, do you ever feel removed from the design part?
It's an interesting question. I'd say no, but I think that it's because I'm so involved with what everybody, I may not be necessarily designing everything anymore, but I am definitely involved in, the outcome and what's going on, and that it's how we work. I mean, even if it's a print project, our web developers involved in the process, because we're so collaborative in how we work and talk and brainstorm together. I don't think anybody in here, including our project manager, feels like they're not part of the design process at all. I mean, it's just inherently what we do and who we are. So for me, it's I don't not feel involved, I guess. I do feel like I'm in the middle of it all the time.
No doubt. That's where the action is, right?
Some days. Some days it's in other places.
Gary Holmes again wants to know, curious, what percentage of hours do you commit to the awarded nonprofit?
Well, that's going to be an interesting question for this year's group. I think that Firebelly is the only company involved that has multiple employees. I think everybody else is single. Is that true? Mary Morton, maybe. I think she might have, she has another person with her. But generally, for Firebelly and what we've done over the years, it's taken on like any other project that we do. So there's no difference whether they're paying us or not. We're just going to give them the same amount of work. And in fact, in most cases, we probably give them way more work because we're so invested in it, and we have such a, we care about what happens at the end. It's not just something we're doing for fun because, of X, Y, Z reason. It's because we care about who they are as an organization and want to see them succeed. So I don't know that there's an official number of hours, but the value when all is said and done by the end of the project is probably somewhere upwards of like $100,000 or more. And you're talking about a studio with 8 people. It's not like this is the project we're working on, all of us 40 hours a week for the whole year, but it's definitely a significant investment, from all of us, because if it wasn't, why would we do it? I guess I don't know. That's how I view it anyway.
Got some good news here. We got some video questions popping up. Actually, Bud Rodecker going to take his call. He's going to be on the chat next week as a guest. Let's see if we can get him on. Bud, hello. Bud!
Hey guys.
What's going on, man?
Not much. I'm just working.
Getting hard by watching a video chat, right?
Yeah.
Working hard.
So, do I have to ask the question, or does it pop up?
It is your question to ask verbally.
Okay. I was wondering, am I too loud? Am I okay?
Are you good?
You're good to go. Go ahead.
You're good. Okay. I was wondering what the best part of your day is.
Interesting question there, bud. Best part of my day. It's not lunch. It's not when I leave even, right? I think that. I enjoy, and maybe this isn't like a certain time of the day necessarily, but I really enjoy the brainstorming as a group together. I feel like it's really fun, and as we're all very similar, we're all really different too, and so people's ideas, they come, especially when you're working on something that's for some sort of a client that is a little bit more non-traditional or has a approach that you might be able to have some fun with in ways that, maybe aren't even PC. We just getting together and chatting, or even one of the other, I sort of joked and I said not lunch, but one of the really fun things is that our studio is actually an apartment, and so we have a full-on kitchen, and just standing around in the kitchen chatting and talking about whatever is always a fun thing too.
Is that where the brainstorms happen, is in the kitchen?
Sometimes it is, yeah, sometimes it is actually.
I've seen it.
Around food.
Yeah. What's your favorite part of the day? Coming to see us?
That too. Meetings. I love meeting new people. I love sitting down for coffee with somebody I've never met before to ask them what they do and get an understanding of how I can help, how we can work together, how we complement each other, or who I can hook them up with that I know if there's no synergies between us, it doesn't matter. There's somebody that I can now hang out with and hook up with all the other people that come into my world. So that's my favorite thing in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Right on.
Great question. Can you give us a little preview of what we're going to be talking about next week?
Oh man, I don't know. What do you guys want to talk
It's all on you, dude.
John's going to be with me. We'll probably talk about moving design. Talk about Thurston moving design and moving design's future.
Bud and
all
John
about
both from
moving design.
thirst3st.com. Definitely look them up. Bud, thanks for your
right.
question tonight.
Thanks.
Thank you, bud.
Thanks, guys.
Bye, bud.
Nice to see
Night.
you.
We got another one we're going to take real quick from I hope I'm saying this, Tin Van Loon. Let's see if we
That's
can
Tina.
get
That's Tina.
Hi, Tina.
Good. Hi. Okay. The question is mostly towards Dawn.
Uh-oh.
With all the things that you do at Firebelly, and then there's Camp Firebelly over the summer, and then you have the Grant for Good, and then you have the mentorship program, and then on top of that, you decided to also be in Call to Action. How do you find time to do anything, and how do you stay energized?
All those things are what keep me energized. For God's sakes, geez, every one of them, there's somebody doing something really awesome as part of it. Especially if you think about some of the things like Camp Firebelly, where you've just got 10 hungry designers who either in school or just graduating, who are just like, I want to do something. It's insane. It's so much fun. That's probably the reason we keep doing Camp Firebelly, because it's all of us were up till 4 a.m. There's no energy in terms of we're totally sleep deprived, but it's an amazing experience for all of us. Afterwards, we have total Camp Firebelly withdrawal, because we've got nothing insanely crazy going on anymore, and it's an amazing experience from that to Reason to Give and all. They just totally inspire me. In terms of how do I do it all, I don't even know how to answer that. I don't know, I just do. I have the best people in the world around me, and they make it all happen, because if I I didn't have any of them, I wouldn't be able to do it, right? Let's be honest. It's not like this is not the Dawn show. This is Firebelly. We're a team of people, and including our collaborators and partners in crime. We certainly couldn't do this with all these other people, without them all. So that's the only way I can do it. But Shannon, I think, actually does more than I do, believe it or not.
No, I just drink more caffeine, so it seems that way.
She certainly has a hell of a lot more meetings than I do. That is for sure.
Coffee is definitely the nectar of the designer gods, no doubt about that.
Seriously, love it.
Cool, Tina. Well, thank you very much for coming on and asking a question. It was awesome to see you.
Problem.
Nice.
Thanks, Tina. See you.
Cool. So that pretty much brings us to the end of our hour, 10 o'clock, and I'm always surprised by how fast these guys, these chats kind of fly by. Definitely when we have more than one person on, it was so cool to see all the people from the mentorship program, and definitely meet you tonight, Shannon. It was awesome that this worked out, and thank you both for coming on tonight.
No, thanks for having us. It's a lot of fun. I'm glad we finally got the opportunity to do it, because not just because I'm able to sit next to Shannon and talk about all the cool things we're doing together, but have the mentor group on here. And I really appreciate you giving us the opportunity to talk about this stuff.
No doubt, no doubt. Exciting stuff, guys. And everybody, so make sure you check out, there's so many things. Firebelly.com, pivotalchicago.com, grantforgood.com, and there's like 100 other links. But that's all I got for right now. Like we just said, we've got Bud and John from Thirst on next week. If you're hearing this some other way, subscribe to us on iTunes. Just search for DesignChat. And see you guys later.